Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the LJLOU's coverage of the LJL. I'm Millicott, still joined by Yulway, and it is time for Game 3, our match of the week. The CGA, coming off their victory last game, facing off against DFM. This is going to be a banger, Yulway.
Once again, we had two amazing games already. We didn't really expect this to be such a
Yeah,
banger of a day till this game. We were all trying to build up the hype, right? Come in with some nice games here and there, maybe a 30-minute game for Rascal Jester, then maybe a little bit of flipping from CJ to get ready for this one. But we already had two 40-minute games, so how about another one? Is your voice ready? Are you ready to have another team
Oh,
fight festival?
I don't know if I'm ready for this one. Maybe it's just that every game is game of the week, man. It's been a day of bangers so far, but this one is sure to be because the way that both of these teams match up is very interesting. So CGA, we saw it exemplified last game. They're good at coming from behind. They're good at existing in scenarios where they're just a little bit behind, or maybe a lot, and then coming back to win the game. DFM, they've not been able to push the early games as much as they would have liked. And their sole win, came against Burning Core in what can only be described as a horrible 45-minute game with 8 kills. So it's this patient, controlled, passive style of DFM matching up against the raw aggression that CGA likes to bring out.
I think there is something very important to keep in mind here. I think everyone should expect DFM to win the early game,
Yep.
but do they actually push their advantages? Because we just saw CGA come back from an early game deficit and a quite severe one. And last week, as you just pointed out, DFM was ahead in this game. They were always ahead. To be fair, their composition also warranted a little bit of uh, yeah, you could play this composition slow because it
Yeah.
was advantageous later on. But if you do this against CGA, the best maybe teamfight team, or at least one of the best teamfighting teams, coming off a huge teamfight heavy victory, I think that's not something you should go for. So I want to see from DFM strong early game into decisive mid game and pushing their advantages. So those
Yeah.
are the things I want to focus on for this team because they are supposed to be the super team. They should be dominant here.
Yeah. And we just haven't seen it from them. I think you can have as many great players as you like, but DFM wouldn't be the first super team to not really live up to the expectations. And it's been the coordination which has been failing them in a lot of cases. They're still laning very well. Ebby and Arya still looking great, but when it comes to working together across the map, when it comes to Gang, the new support coming in, well, not even a new support, he was there with them last summer, but his map movements haven't looked great. The engages that they've been trying to do have looked disjointed. You'd often see two members fighting at one part of a fight and the other three sort of hanging back, and they're not really being this connection between the players, which is what you need to see if you are a true title winning team. And as we get into the draft, we know that CGA are a team that can punish that severely. We see Senna removed and her husband Lucian taken off the table as well.
I have my eyes on Gwen. We just saw the big Gwen carry performance, so let's see if Gwen is going to be open, left open for either side, honestly. CJ now 3-2, are at least going to finish the week on 50% win rate, which would be the quintessential coin flip win rate, so it makes sense. But if they win here, they actually move into the upper echelons, and I believe you told me earlier today that 4 wins was actually enough to get into playoffs in spring. So 4 wins after 3 weeks, that feels great. That almost feels like you have secured your big goal for this split already.
Ooh, and the Gwen is still available with the bans coming out. Yeah, maybe don't put your feet up quite yet. Still a lot of League of
Hopefully
Legends
not.
to come, but it definitely puts you in a very comfortable position, and you're going to feel a lot happier with where you are if you can get a strong start. Champion that loves to get a strong start is the Volibear, known as a big early game powerhouse.
Is a Volibear first pick over Thresh and Gwen and Viego and what? Okay. I would answer here with Thresh and Gwen or Renekton. Yeah, Renekton is a very strong option as well. Maybe try to go for the Renekton into Gwen matchup again. It worked in laning phase, right? So Late game, it's definitely Gwen favored, but early on, you can really try to dive the Gwen, as we just saw in the last game. I'm really confused by LJL meta, because it feels like the LJL is by far the lowest on the Thresh. Every other league would just first pick Thresh right away. Thresh is, enables Aphelios, enables Jinx, gives you so many options in the bot lane, is in itself a super strong champion, but instead we just completely skip over the Thresh, and now it's probably time for Aphelios Thresh on the other side.
Yeah, nice and easy pickup. Important to note that the Renekton locked in for DFM here is a flex pick. Arya has played it a couple times. Not been too impressed by it, but the flexibility, the option is still there. Nautilus going to be the last pick now for DFM. And we've seen this matchup, I believe, before the Nautilus going up into the Thresh last game. And Alchemy definitely favored that one.
Yeah, this is Nautilus Thresh is a little bit of a controversial matchup. Their counterplay options for either side, I think generally it's accepted between support mains that in laning phase at least, Nautilus is favored. Nautilus and Blitzcrank both are kind of favored because their hook timers are better than Thresh, so they can actually engage counter the Thresh engage. They're also melee champs, actually full melee champs, so they are much more tanky. The problem is Nautilus is also pretty bad into Aphelios, because Aphelios is very good into dive champions. So Aphelios Thresh is just one of the strongest combinations in the game. Very few bot lanes can actually deal with this one, and I really hope Upon does not look at Kai'Sa right now, because Kai'Sa Nautilus would be a very hard lane to play. And of course, it's Milan Alchemy. We don't expect great things from them, but the last game, even in laning phase, they actually look pretty decent.
Yeah. That's the Gwen removed here for DFM. I don't think either of us is particularly surprised about that one. It turns out that you can stamp on Nap as much as you like. He'll just get back up and start snipping people's health bars in half. And that's the Varus removed as well. So the AD carry
List
pool
open.
has been pinched for Utapon. Like you said, the Callista is open, would be the expected pick here.
Oh no. Oh man. DFM is still living in MSI, and that's in week 3 of LJL. That's actually a really bad sign, I think. All these champs were present at MSI. We know for a fact that even Diana wasn't the only. It was played against DFM actually by, I believe, Down1. Yeah, they actually played the Yasuo Diana in their fun game. It was also definitely making the rounds in scrims. So DFM still on the MSI train, and I think that's pretty bad. A pretty bad sign for them.
Oh, this might be a good sign for Nate, you know. Picks up the LeBlanc. We saw this guy on
Palmer
a
to LeBlanc.
little bit more of a supportive style last game, but he is saying screw that. Full damage, full carry time.
So this time around, he's going to be the main damage contributor, and then Cassin is going to follow up, maybe set up his for his success. And wow, the cannon in top lane. Completely different. A lot of counter dive. I really like this composition into Diana Renekton. I think they've drafted, once again, a really cool, creative composition. We've seen Cannon here and there, glimpses of Cannon, especially in rogue games. Odramna, of course, is a big fan of the Cannon. So, oh. Do we see the VCS influence? Come on, give me the AP Shyvana. Give me the Froggy.
That Toad is not going to be unloaded. No Froggy special. Is going to be the Ariana. Bit more of a traditional champion for Arya. Has been on stuff like the Renekton and the Lee Sin. Not look great on those. So going back to Comfort, I feel for him, does bring a very strong teamfight option as well.
Yeah, and I think if DFM is to win this game, he's going to be the crucial carry, because Orianna is the only champ that's good against the Aphelios of all these champs from DFM. You could argue maybe Diana in certain circumstances when she gets to burst him down, but usually champions that run at Aphelios or even jump at Aphelios are really bad against him, because he has so many tools in his arsenal, literally 5 different tools in his arsenal. To deal with those diving champions, a lot of CC, a lot of sustain, a lot of short-range damage. So not the greatest comp to attack Aphelios. Even Kai'Sa struggles with that one. So you need some more range, and I think Arya is going to be the one to control the space, to try to zone him out, and maybe if he ever oversteps, goes aggressive, snap that ultimate and try to lock Milan down.
I mean, you've got some very good bull carriers as well. Diana,
For sure.
Nautilus, Renekton. All these champions want to get in the middle
Even
of the
Kai'Sa.
enemy team. Yeah, guys. That'd be a new one. That'd be a new one for me. The jumping into the backline with a ball on her. But it's a clear composition with a very defined goal. And I think that's good for DFM because they've struggled a little bit on the coordination in parts. And whilst maybe the Kaiser's a bit of a questionable pick, or the Nautilus isn't as strong later on, this is a composition where you know exactly what your job is going to be.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that sentiment. I think it's good for them to have a very clear game plan, to know exactly what to do. Gang coming in again knows exactly what to go for. They all dive together. It's a little bit of the CLG-like bongo comp, as some people like to call it. Not quite the Vi in the jungle position, but pretty similar. But I think on the other end, we have a little bit of concern for this team because they're still going for Kaiser Nautilus even into the openly drafted Aphelios Thresh. With Thresh available, they could have taken Thresh away in second rotation. And I think there's you can't really call it MSI hangover anymore. It's 3 weeks already. So they really need to adapt to the meta and new patch. This patch came out long after MSI. All the teams had just 1 week to prepare. So I'm pretty disappointed with this super team that they can't react to the new meta a little bit faster.
Yeah, but maybe they can pull out the win regardless. We are now on the Rift, CG8 versus DFM. Blue side team looking to make it 2-1 the week. DFM looking to arrest their fall in the standings. Kassin, we didn't see that Yulwei. Nothing happened. It's all fine.
Okay, please never show us Kassin again. Still, all these junglers in the LJL also not getting any kind of help in the early clear in the last 2 games. This is something I've seen so many times now here. Every jungler just has to fight for their own against the early, very strong monsters. Last game we actually saw Xinjia, one of the highest sustained champs in the game, drop down to 200 HP after 2 camps. So they really do not give a hand to their junglers. Now Gang in a bad position, drops down to almost half HP, and Milan and Alchemy level 2 could really look for an all-in here. Aphelios Thresh level 2, they really come online, but now they actually missed the mark.
That's going to be the hook landing from Gang as the hook comes down onto him. The Ignite dropped as well. Alchemy going to burn, but not quite going to fall. Utibon looking for a couple more autos, but they will not connect. In the mid lane, we see Nahyun trading very aggressively with Arya.
Nicely done. Really
With
good
that-
dodge around the Q. They're very cool. He waited for Arya to show his Q movement and then went in for the trade to actually completely dodge the Q damage. So very nicely played from Nahyun. Immediately gets full control of the wave, and Arya level 2, half HP. But we have a dive.
Oh, this is good
Potentially
adaptation
Steel.
from Steel. He has skipped his bottom side jungle completely. Alchemy does have the flash and they use it. Very clean summoner spell usage as CGA's bot lane able to get out.
Best flash synergy I've ever seen from a bot lane. They were on one page, and that page, they probably were on not just one page, but just the same book. There was such great synergy. Insta double flash. It looked very cool. It's still pretty bad for them though, because now there's such a huge opportunity for Steel to actually come back and look for that kill. We have flash auto attack ready for Gang. That's such an easy CC setup as well. And Kassin a little bit behind play, and that's Volibear first pick into Steel's Diana. So Volibear should always be the one making the first move. Such an easy gank setup. So I want to see what he can do with this first clear. Maybe look for something in the mid lane. Try to interrupt the big backport. Yeah, that's pretty huge. Arya has to channel that one again. Gives Nahyun full control, and he gets double scuttle crab. So at least it's very good for himself. Unless Abby has something to say about this one.
The smite's still available for Kassin, so it's just going to say hello to the big crocodile and go back into his own jungle. That ward will decay, so won't spot the back coming out from the Volibear. Small CS leads being developed for DFM solo laners, but nothing really too game-breaking just yet.
A little bit surprising to see Nation this far behind after controlling the wave and getting this really, really good trade early on. To be fair to him, LeBlanc is one of the hardest champs in the game to last it with, especially auto attacks, kind of deceptive very low damage auto attacks. Their speed is kind of weird as well, but we have another Olin, and Alchemy has no
Oh, that's a
flash.
lot of damage landing onto Alchemy. He does not have the flash, remember, but Milan has his guns. That's the heal coming out. Now the root can come out too. Gang opting back into this one. Lands that
But Gang?
passive hit onto Milan, but he might be forced to get away himself. Lands the dredge line onto the tower and is able to escape without burning his summoner. But it's another summoner down for the CGA bot lane.
Every single time we see traits go the way of Aphelios, it's always this combination in lane blue and purple, the flamethrower and the slow gun, or whatever you want to call that one. The portal gun looks pretty cool.
Infernum Gravitum.
That is true as well. If you want to actually use those names, they have pretty cool names. But I think he made a small mistake there. I think he should have gravitated Gang a little bit earlier. I think he waited for the perfect opportunity.
Oh.
Then he was just a little too far away. That hurts, of course. But in the end, it's still one trade against no flash. So CJ bot lane, 2 games in a row, actually, stepping up and ahead in the laning phase in CS against both Utapon and also Soul. So 2 of the best bot laners, probably the 2 best bot laners, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's character development, it's growth that we didn't necessarily expect to see from them. Obviously, maybe that we were looking at potentially Milan Alchemy coming in off the spring to summer break being an improved bot lane. Didn't really see it in the first few weeks, but the strength that they've had this week has been very good. And I've got a lot of optimism for them and for CGA in general now, because they don't just have that perma-losing bot lane, and they can actually exert themselves against, like you said, 2 of the best bot lanes in the LJL.
Very good to see. And overall, CGA, 6 minutes 30 into the game. To be fair to them, they first picked a little bit of early pressure and very strong lanes, but still, just looking at the nameplates at the top of the screen, CGA against DFM, 7 minutes in, even gold, you take that every single day of the week.
Yes, Nahian is trading very aggressively against Arya. The CS lead for the DFM mid laner has been maintained, not pushed too much, but it's still fairly significant. It may be a lane that you'd expect LeBlanc to go a little bit more even in.
For sure. I'm really surprised. Nathan must have missed many creeps without pressure, because actually he has been in such a great situation. Yep, that's another one. I think he's really struggling with the CSing after Karma. Karma is just spammable Q all the time. You can even W here, there. He gets so much control. So I think he's just struggling with the CSing here on the LeBlanc. Not good to see. Very sad if the player just loses to himself with no pressure whatsoever put him here. But in the end, LeBlanc just needs 1 kill anyway, and then all the CS is going to get forgotten. But Abby
diving forward, pops the Dominus, gets the stun onto Nap, who does pop that slicing maelstrom as well, trying to flash away, get towards Kassin, but it will not come through in time. Steel picks up the first blood.
One of the worst flashes I've seen. Nap waking up for that one, should have probably stayed asleep, because no reason to flash whatsoever there. He was 100% dead, still even has the flash to follow up, so yeah, just accept your death. The enemy team already invested a flash in the top lane, so maybe if you preserve your flash, maybe your jungler can come in and you can counter dive and get a kill back. Speaking of counter dive,
going on to Steel, but Gang is here as well. Gets the route onto Kassin, as that's a TP channeled. We got multiple members of DFM coming through, getting the damage down on Terraria. The Dark Passage comes out as well, and now Evie is a little bit far forward. Flash force from Kassin as Nappa's arrived, but doesn't have the ultimate. Chains landing from Nahian, but they're not going to follow it up any further.
No one dies, and imagine Nap had his ultimate and flash available there.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, the ultimate usage was still good, so probably just a flash Pikachu that doesn't really do much there. But in the end, CGA wins the trade overall, and they also had the ADCs isolated in the bot lane, which is always going to favor Aphelios. We already see Milan in a very good spot, can reset on the wave timing, so they might just go to the bottom lane with double flash available now, maybe even a first turret available if you have White Gun, plus the Rift Herald, plus a good push, maybe a dive from Crescent. Could be a first tower for CGA to extend the gold, or to actually get into the gold lead.
Yeah, obviously they've got that Herald in their back pocket as well, so that's a lot of plates going down if you are able to successfully execute on a dive. And funneling resources into Milan seems like a pretty good strategy. today. Had a very good performance on the Varus last game. Has looked decent on the Aphelios this time around. And
Unfortunately, his main stat is actually going down today. He's getting way too much gold, so gold per damage per gold is not looking too great. Honestly, if the first team, if the number of wins goes up, he's not going to care one little bit.
not at all, as we do see Kassin pathing towards the bottom side. This could imply a bot gank, a bot dive coming through in the next minute or so. On the minimap, we did see Evie moving towards the mid lane, but is going to get spotted out on that zombie ward, and we'll just have to return to the top side of the map.
Yeah, something I want to point out now that the game's a little bit slower. There's a lot of AP damage and a lot of point and click CC on the side of CGA. So the enemy team has an insane value from Merc threats, and we already see those built on Arya first item, built on Avi first item. So this might bite them on the back with all the CC being very easily averted, and then all the damage, the AD damage, has to come from Milan, because even Kassin on the Volibear deals mainly AP damage, or magical damage. So this is a hard composition to execute, especially on 1.5 items when the Aphelios can't solo carry. So you might have to give up a little bit of pressure early on, give up a few dragons here and there, and wait for Aphelios to hit 2, 3, maybe even 4 items when he can really take over the game, and all the MR is not going to help you a little bit end the fight. Also, Nahun, it's not having the greatest showing on this most aggressive of champions. He's is still behind almost 20 CS down to Arya after a great early trade. And he's falling further and further behind in terms of tempo in the game, because his champion is supposed to accelerate and he's not doing anything.
Important to note, though, that was a very late Drake pickup for DFM, so they're not going to be accelerating towards that potential sell win condition at any great speed. Going to get online around about 27 minutes, which it's still relatively early on, but it's not as fast as we've seen from some other Drake takes. Still making his way up into the top lane. Could look for a lane gank, but there is a very nice ward placed by Nap. We'll spot him out.
Good to see, and maybe an opportunity to counterplay, but of course they spot the ward, so everything is going to get known from both sides, and back to farming in the top lane. Honestly, not the worst for Steel, of course, on the Diana. You always want to look for ultimate. Almost every Diana we see actually just throws themselves in there with the ultimate, trying to get something, just anything, and then back to farming. So every time your ultimate is up, you just want to look for one play, and then you're back off the map for everyone else on the team. Wow, that's a lot of damage. So Nahun
that's
still...
the shockwave used. Dodged away from very nicely from Nahun, but here comes Gang. The depth charge is used. The dredge line connects, and and he tries to distort away, but the ignite will take him down. Second kill going over to DFM. Gang picks it up.
That's not fair. He played that so well. He dodged absolutely everything. He had such an amazing engage on Arya. And then just the cavalry arrives. Everyone is here. 4 against 1. Milan, a little bit overextended, but of course, it's Thresh. So here we go. This is one of the reasons why you always play Thresh Aphelios. And it's red-white. This is hard to die for DFM.
But unfortunately, that Herald not able to get a charge. Second game today, actually, we've seen a Herald denied. That one very easily taken away by Steel, but a couple of plates did go into Milan's pocket, meaning the gold lead, whilst it exists for DFM, it's not significant as of yet.
I think we saw a little bit of disjointed calls there from CGA. They wanted to make this play happen, and they actually planned it in advance with the wave setup from the bot lane and Milan already taking one plate off the tower. So they just rushed to the bot lane and said, we have to use the Herald here. They actually used the Herald and completely disregarded the fact that mid lane was in complete control of DFM. So in the end, they had to give up the Herald, and all that early pressure is undone in one instant. They're only 800 gold behind. It's not the worst.
Oh, as Nahun is making plays onto Arya. Flash still available, is going to use it, but the bear is way too big. Kassin picks that one up, and now Gang may be in a little bit of trouble, but not if Steel has anything to say about it. The Moonfall comes out, and Nahun goes away with the distortion, but there goes Usupon, picks up the second kill.
Man, Nahun is picked on so much by the enemy team. It's so unfortunate. His mechanics are looking great on this champion. I think we've seen many cool interactions from him. Not the greatest CSing mechanics, maybe, to say. But Everything else has looked crisp, but sadly everyone is always there to react to his plays. It buys enough time for Milan to once again wail away at the turret, and now he gets a lot of gold under his belt. Nathan, look at this dodge. It's so nicely played from Nathan. I think this is the initial play where everyone collapsed on him. Yeah, you can see.
This is the later one here. Distorts forward onto Arya.
Oh, right, this is actually the kill on Arya that just happened. Really nicely done. The kill doesn't even go over to Nathan, and then he has to pay the price. It's just such an unfortunate game. Flash ultimate from Steel, so now maybe you can even try to focus down Steel in the next play. And the kill goes over to Utapon. But the gold is even for CGA, and once again, we have to stress they are very good team fighters, even from behind. So being even in gold against DFM, something they wouldn't have dreamt of at the start of this split.
Yeah. Do you have shoe shops where you are?
Shoe shops.
Shops where you can buy shoes. Do
I
you reckon they've got
suppose.
shoe shops in Japan?
Why is that? Oh, yeah, there's one very. Oh, wait. Utapon? Hello?
Utapon has forgotten to buy boots.
Yeah,
Maybe he's not forgotten to buy boots. There is a lot of mobility on the Kaiser, but you do see those picked up often before the 15-minute mark, so we'll have to see what's going on with that one.
One model seems to be really, really famous right now. One of those shoes looks shiny and everyone wants to go for those. Understandably so, because DFM profits a lot from those Mercury threats. So, Nap, oh, don't go in there, don't go in there.
He's lightning rushing away, pops that Maelstrom as Ebby takes a couple of tower shots for his trouble, still on Fuel Fury, but with that Dominus slowly going to be ticking down, is forced away. And now CGA are going to use that opportunity to take away this Drake.
Well, that's pretty good for CGA. We talked about the potential snowball for DFM, even though it's late into the game. It's once again Infernal Soul coming up, so now that is delayed to mid 30 minutes, means Elder Dragon potentially only coming in at, say, 40 minutes. So this game once again might go the distance. And we had two 40-minute bangers, so I'm all for it. More team fights, only 4 kills at 60 minutes. I'm already getting sleepy here, looking at Nap over there. What's happening? I need more.
I'm hoping this doesn't turn into a repeat of the Burning Core game. I'm sure CJ will not let that happen, though. Gradually getting towards that mid-game point where this team loves to turn it on, loves to find a fight, but there isn't anything particularly big to fight for right now. One dragon apiece, that one just taken away, so a few minutes until that spawns. Still got these mid towers to fight for. No team has been able to take those down.
Yeah, and as I pointed out earlier, Aphelios needs items, so you're actually pretty content just giving him time to scale to 2 to 3 items. 3 items with the big power spike. He's almost on 2 already at 18 minutes, so it's going great for the side of CGA. Their main carry, Milan, with great performance in the last few teamfights last game, even though he got a lot of criticism for his laning phase in our analysis. His team fighting is not the problem, but Abby might be in a little bit of
that's a death sentence landing. The hook comes out, flashes over the wall, but the bear can just follow you forward. One last hit, Kassin picks it up.
Kassin taking all the kills, not great for his team especially, because he's sadly going for the tank build for some unknown reason. I haven't seen a Volibear actually going tank for a very long time, but a kill is a kill is a kill. So Abby going down, forcing his flash, getting a little bit more gold, always very positive for CGA, also giving a little bit of alone time with the turret for Nap, so he's going to try and get that one as well. It's a very slow game, everyone is just pretty happy, handshaking waves back and forth, and it's all just going to give us more pressure for the big team fights that are going to come.
We promise, we promise. We see item completions have all come in. Actually, for a little while now, only champions without those mythics are the supports. That Hextech Rocket Belt on Nap is going to be very useful when he's looking for these big slicing maelstroms in the middle of fights. If you're able to stun up multiple members, get right in the middle of people, that gives you great setup for Milan and Nahim to start dishing out the damage.
Then there's actually a little concern for this late game cannon fantasy, because usually a lot of teams have something to deal with the cannon. We have no exhaust on the enemy team. We have no way of kicking him out of the team. No Janna, no Lee Sin, no Gragas. So he in the late game he is going to be a big threat and maybe even able to carry whole team fights even against all the Mercury threats. So we have to keep an eye on Nap. I think it's a little bit too early yet. He's probably a little bit more of a facilitator at this stage of the game, but give him 2 more items and suddenly he becomes the main carry, looking for flanks and looking for the big maelstroms.
Yeah. And maybe that explains a little bit why Kassin has gone for this tank build. Recognizes that there is a lot of damage on his team and he doesn't need to be dealing it. He is going to be hooked up here as 5 members of DFM are collapsing in the mid lane. 1 kill already going over to Utapon. No, he's taken the tower as that's a very big ultimate. Here comes Nap. Multiple people stunned up. Only the Volibear dropping though. One goes back. Milan picks that one up and now DFM have to run. They initiated the play, but now they're getting collapsed on. That's a lot of damage dropped on Utapon's head, but it doesn't quite connect. Milan flashing forward, but the autos are not enough. Just a 1-for-1 in the mid lane.
Milan is showing so much patience, but I think in the end he made the wrong decision. I think he should have flashed way earlier. Press your Q, you had red, white, the strongest combination possible. Flash Q forward, I think you get 1 more kill, maybe you force 1 more flash. It looked, I was hesitant to call it out in the fight because I thought, okay, it's maybe not worth it to flash here to actually burn the flash, get 1 more kill. Maybe it's better to preserve that one and look for the next big fight. It's a dangerous play for both sides. DFM really overextending for the tower, but then again, they get a good initial damage on the two tanks. Look at all this AoE damage. Nap and Milan. And we see the red gun already firing. He's stacked on the Conqueror. Now he's ready to go red, white. Sadly, of course, no stacks of the white gun, so not the highest DPS possible. No time for that, though.
Oh, not quite coming out onto Kassin. And I just want to highlight how many flashes were blown for DFM. Look at them. They have got none available. So if Nap or Kassin are able to find another engage, there is basically no way out for our spring champions. Infernal Drake has spawned, so we will have that potential soul. But DFM looking to pick this one up without too much contest, although CJ are walking forward, does go over to Steel, but Nahum's come over the wall. The rocket battle away doesn't quite come out in time, and now Steel is on the wrong side. The Ignite drop down. 1 more hit will take him out. Nahum grabs his first kill of the game.
Finally, a kill for Nahum, and he worked so hard for this. This is probably the hardest kill he's ever worked for 1 kill in a game, because he played actually a really good game, apart from CSing in lane. So finally gets some reward from that one, but it's another dragon over to DFM, so CJ not really looking for the dragon win condition anymore, instead just running at Baron.
They are just starting this one up. We do have the chakrams for Milan, so he's doing a fair bit of damage. Nap is hiding on the side, still has access to the slicing maelstrom. No flashes on DFM. If Nap gets this, it's absolutely huge. Going in, Utapon is caught, diving forward. Here comes the Volibear, but Utapon is able to survive. Ebby in the backside heals up so much with the Gore Trigger. Arya picks up a kill. It's 2 kills already for DFM, and somehow they win that fight.
Wow, Abby with the hero performance on this crocodile. How did he deal so much damage? That was absolutely insane. Probably a Gore Drinker proc. You're going to look at that later on. Oh, never mind, later on. It's such a good setup. I think it's just a little bit too early for this. 1 more item on the cannon, and they actually wipe the floor with everyone here. Also, Arya. Look at Arya's positioning and his shockwave to save his AD carry. Huge! Knocking back Kassin, and he can't finish the job. He doesn't have the Sunderer. He's a tank Volibear. He doesn't deal the damage. So in the end, also Milan, crucially, not on red guns. So he's not able to sustain through the dive. Not the greatest guns for him. He used all the white gun stacks against the Baron. So in the end, DFM getting away with a very hairy situation and back into the gold lead and control over the Rift.
Control over the Rift, indeed. And it was a fumble by CGA. They pushed the envelope a little bit too hard and they got rightly punished. Now, maybe this gives a little bit more confidence to DFM. Utapon on 2 items. Kai'Sa will start one-shotting the LeBlanc or the Aphelios if she's allowed to jump onto them in time. But if Milan's got those gun setups that he currently has, maybe not so much, as Agnes walking forward, as is Steel, but they're not able to make a pick onto the CGA AD carry.
I'm really impressed with Milan in these 2 games. I think his positioning, his DPS in fights has been very impressive. The Varus last game, much more of a supportive style of game where he brought a lot of damage to the table where he wasn't the main carry. Now it's all about him in team fights. And much crucially, he's walking at almost, he's looking at almost 3 items here, i.e. next big purchase. But he also is sitting on a stopwatch, and that's such a big thorn in the side of DFM's engage, because even if you get him low enough, if he has red gun or even a lantern, it's so hard to kill him, and then he has stopwatch on top of them. So on top of that, so his flash is almost up again. How do you kill Milan? And can you win the game without killing Milan is the question here.
I think the answer to your first question is it's very difficult, and the answer to your second question is probably no. He's a big carrier. CGA once again going for this Baron. TP is available on Nap, so he can join the fight if he wants to. DFM starting to check forward, but it's already down to 6,000 damage. Steel might need to live up to his namesake and go for one here. TP channeled. Here comes Ebby. That's the hook landing onto the volley bear going forward, but Gang is caught out. The shockwave hits no one. Utamon dives into the backline, but it doesn't connect. He's just taken so low. He's taken down. Already 2 kills going in favor of CGA, and DFM have fluffed the fight. Ebby going madman, going forward, trying to do as much as he can. The damage is unreal from the Renekton. The health bars on CGA are blinking, but the members on DFM can't quite finish them off. Another Calder Mix, the Circus Pop, still going forward, able to dive onto Nahun, able to dive onto Nap, and Detention FocusMe find the fight against the odds.
How do they keep getting away with it? It's just Abby. It's all Abby. He's dominating the whole Rift, and he's finally showing up again. He had some very questionable games last week and the week before even, getting wrecked by the likes of multiple top laners. Even Eno looked pretty good against him, but now Nahun, can he do anything to stop this Baron? Steel has smite though.
So it's a lot of damage. Oh, very nice stopwatch from Ebby. But the LeBlanc has done her job. The Baron has been dissuaded. Detention FocusMe will take the fight and nothing more.
Which didn't get used by Milan. I asked if you could win the game without killing him. Well, you can also just kill him, even though the shockwave went nowhere, even though Utapon dived way too deep and actually died at the start of the fight. It's all Abby all the time on the Renekton. Now a third dragon coming up. Cassin almost has to flash over to steal here. Or they just don't take
the
the
setup
dragon.
is quite there for CGA. Could go for the steal. Is going to be secured by Steel. Gang lands the hook onto the volley bear. But I don't think CGA want this fight. And they will just back away as the DFM.
It's a Baron angle here for CGA. Weapons aren't great for Milan, though Infernum is actually pretty good. 110% damage, so actually really strong in the DPS department. And then not fancying another Baron, because the last one wasn't looking too great. You actually get to see this contest again. So keep your eyes on Utapon and Arya and their contributions first, because they actually misplayed this so horribly bad. This shockwave just going nowhere. Utapon trying to dive on top of Milan, but you just can't expect this to work. You don't have the items. He has so many shields. It's just not going to be enough. But Evie, look at this one. That was crucial. Now he's just too big for anyone to deal with. No DPS left. Felius is dead. He has so much MR. You just can't kill him. He's just diving in there, using all his items to get so much AoE damage and setting up Steel for success. That was all Abby, that whole team fight. And now they're in Infernal Soul Point. Enemy team is walking. Man, come on. There's another play on the map.
We keep flipping at the Baron, but it was Ebby there, the veteran top laner for DFM, able to pull them out of a sticky situation. And CGA, once again, they seem unsure. They seem uncertain. They looked so confident in the previous game, but here they are faltering. They do not know what to do with themselves on the map.
So the funny thing is, it's actually, in theory, the correct play to go to Baron, because you have so much AoE, you have so many CC tools, and the enemy team diving into a team of Aphelios, Thresh, and especially Cannon is really bad, right? So you actually want them to dive into you, but it's not decisive enough, it's not set up correctly, they don't sweep out the vision, so all the Baron attempts, they look like Baron attempts, but they aren't really Baron attempts, because there's no real threat of them actually continuing and completing the Baron. It's all a fake, and DFM is calling them out on their fakes. They're saying, no, it's not actually true. You're just pretending. And so far, sadly, CGA has been exposed as a pretender, at least in this game.
Yeah, lying maybe 95% of what LeBlanc does, but CGA don't appear to be very good at it. It's just
Sadly.
DSM walking through, getting some vision onto the Baron for when CGA inevitably start that up in the next 30 seconds. I'm more concerned about this next Drake. Would be Infernal Soul for DFM. We've seen that win games before in the LJL, and I don't think even the teamfight gods of CGA would be able to withstand the onslaught of that objective.
Ooh, Infernal Soul is so dangerous because it changes actually so much about the game. Because with Infernal Soul, suddenly the divers have enough damage to kill Milan, and that is not supposed to happen in this composition. Milan is supposed to be the one countering the dive, but if the divers actually succeed in diving him and killing him at the start of the fight, then your whole team composition collapses. Now,
Oh,
Hune,
Nahun's looking for Utapon, lands the ethereal trains, and that's a lot of the Acathian Rain coming back on the other side. Forced to flash over the wall, and CGA's Baron attempt has been dissuaded. Ebby looked them dead
once
in the
again.
eye and said, I will not teleport. I am fine to push this lane down.
And one problem with CGA's grouping strategy is that they're not getting resources onto their main carries. They're getting a lot of resources onto Milan, fair enough. But the secondary carry Nap is falling so far behind. He's only sitting on 2 items. And I talked about the threat of this champion later on in the game because the enemy team has no exhaust and they have no way of kicking him out of the team fight. But if he never gets any resources, if he never gets any golden items to work with, never hits level 16, then, well, he basically exhausted himself, right? So this is not the greatest strategy. You really need to give Nap some time to scale and get some items under his belt so he can pose a threat to Arya, to Utapon, even to Gang and Steel.
Yeah. Once he hits that level 16 mark, that nerf out will be mitigated a little bit, and there we are. CJ are starting the Baron once again. Evie can TP in if he wants to, but it doesn't look like the DFM have really got an angle on this. That is the hook landing onto Gang. That's a load of damage going down onto Nakian, but here comes the shockwave. Big onto
Abby!
Cassin as Ebby kills the clone in the backside, and once again, CGA will run away.
So they got the teleport from Abby, which I guess is a small, very, very small win. But they've wasted so much time, it's actually insane to me. Milan is a higher level than Nap, and I think they've misread their own composition, which is very unfortunate. And now they might have misread map positioning, because look at this dragon, it's going down.
It's just gone. CGA, what are you doing? That's a free Infernal Soul for DFM. All that time at the Baron, you weren't looking at the bottom of the map, and please don't go for this again, guys.
Of course they are. There's nothing else on the map for them, so here we go. Another Baron attempt. Abby, no teleport, and no ultimate, so maybe we can actually kill him this time.
This one is going very low, down to 4,000 HP as Arya is in the vicinity, but he gets the steal, 77 HP, you don't give a damn. Steel going into the back line as well, and CGA may just fall right here. Steel doing a load of damage to Nahun, Utapon in the backside as well. Milan taken down. Alchemy will be the last one to fall. DFM get the Infernal Soul, DFM get the Baron, DFM get the Ace, and DFM will get the base.
That tilted me. Oh my, oh my. That is a steal on top of that. It's not even steel flashing over for the smite steal. And it's just some Arya, I think it was a W or QW or something, not even the ultimate to use to get the full combo in there. DFM in the end looking pretty dominant, back in their form. We expected them to come into this season as the big favorites and finally stepping out again. They're going to play another game, and this might be their first 2-0 weekend, starting with a very dominant, very solid first game against CGA.
That was very CGA.
So
you get the 40-minute banger win against Rascal Gestures, the strongest team in the league. And then you just kind of flip it at the Baron a million times. Eventually you get punished, and DFM are able to pick up the win.
So do you want to summarize for me and the viewers just joining us what was in CGA's playbook for this game? I think it's pretty easy, right? Seemed like they had one page or maybe even just one line.
I think it was do Baron. Just do Baron. And then you win the game. But apparently not. I think we're going to head to a little bit of a short break. After that, we are going to break down what was an interesting game coming out from these teams. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the LJL. Are you presenting the LJL? Middlecott and Yulway here after what was an interesting game, if we use a caster euphemism. Yulway, man, what on earth did we just watch?
This game kind of reminded me, if you, I'm not sure if a lot of viewers will actually remember this game, but there was a game in Worlds 2019. I think it was between J Team and Gigabyte Marines or GUM, and GUM played a composition with Nocturne, and I believe, and Nocturne clad, and they dove the enemy backline, I think 5 or 6 times in a row, and people were actually laughing all the time because it looked the same. This game was
Yeah,
exactly the same. CGA just had one play. They ran at Baron over, and it was the most insane thing
I,
ever. I mean, it's literally the definition of insanity, right?
yeah,
Doing the same thing and expecting different outcomes. It was mind blowing.
yeah,
Not in a
it
good
was
way, though.
ridiculous. It was not good, sort of mind blowing. And this is CGA. If you've not seen them before, this is what happens. You can have games where they can go toe to toe with the best teams in the region and look exceptional. And then you can have games where they just turn off their brains and run at Baron for 15 minutes and then lose the game.
Probably actually 50
Uh,
minutes. Sorry.
they're the burger flippers, man. They're the burger flippers. I feel like this game could be characterized a lot through the top lane matchup. Nap, again, for the second game today, didn't really look particularly comfortable. And this time he didn't have the Gwen to bail him out. But Ebby, man, holy moly. Ebby was huge in these fights, single handedly pulling them back for DFM.
It was a little bit confusing because actually some of the ideas how to play with Cannon were pretty good. His
Mm,
positioning, when he looked for the fight, the 1 TP and the backline in the mid lane, those like ideas, concepts he was working with were actually pretty good. But then he failed at the stage before that. He actually overthought all these concepts and forgot to farm. He ended up in the end of the game with 2 items and 180 CS or something. He was level 14 on Cannon, and the enemy team was so weak against Cannon, and
yeah.
he just needed to farm, and no one told him to farm. It's pretty sad to see.
Yeah. Sometimes you can just fail at the basics. But big win for DFM. Not maybe necessarily as earned, as it could have been, but it's definitely going to be a big morale boost. They've actually won their last couple of games on the bounce now, so they should be feeling a lot better. And if we take a look at the final team fight, we can see how it all unfolded.
A really good game from Abby, and he is once again wide there. Was he actually gets grabbed at the start, but CJ knows they want to commit to the Baron finally, and it was actually their best Baron attempt. Honestly, steal was not around. No one was close enough to steal, and then in the end, it's just Arya with a QW. And this is what I talked about with the Infernal Soul. Milan in this position with a white gun and a lot of stacks, some FL users would one before there, probably, but Infernal Soul is just too much damage. He just gets shut down in a matter of seconds in the end. It's just too much damage. It's too much zone control from DFM. And CJ, they dug their own grave, but honestly, DFM played a very solid game against a weak opponent.
Yeah. There was a lot of respect played for CGA, which I think is something that DFM needs to do with the position that they're in. Obviously, a little bit lower down in the standings, but obviously, massive congratulations to them picking up their second win of the split. Has to feel good. We are going to be going to a short break very soon. When we come back, it will unfortunately not be myself and Yulway greeting you. Max Formal and Midnight will be on the caster desk as DFM try and go 2-0 this week up against the SoftBank Hawks Gaming. We'll see you soon.